It's a tale of two teams. Is this a trap game for the Texans, or do they hold all the cards?
You are Locked On NFL Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
I'm John Hickman with the Locked On Texans podcast. That's my man Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals.
Woo!
Not the greatest of seasons for the Cards. A lot better for Houston. So that's what we're going to dive into on today's show. Give ourselves and our listeners some game predictions, key matchups, the Russian offense for Houston, the Russian defense for the Cardinals. Under Jonathan Ganon, it ain't the greatest. Why is that? Alex Clancy will let you know more. Then also we'll dive into the biggest storylines for each team, just to tell the two different teams how the Houston Texans have come out to be 8-5 on the year, 3-10 for the Cardinals. That stinks to high hell. So we're going to dive into all of that on today's show. Today's podcast is brought to you by Prize Picks on this crossover Thursday. Download the Prize Pick app today and use code LOCKEDON NFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 play. Alex, it's been a long time, so let's dive right into it. The biggest storyline for the Arizona Cardinals, no Kyler Murray. That seems to be a marriage that's on its way to a divorce, heading fast. You got Jacoby Brissett stepping in. The passing offense has looked well, but it hasn't resulted in any win. So for Texas fans wondering whether or not this could be a trap game for them, let us inside into what the heck has been going on with the Arizona Cardinals.
Not great, Bob. You know, it hasn't been fantastic. The Kyler Murray experiment is over. He'll most likely be on a different team next year. He's on season-ending IR. Jacoby Brissett, bless his heart, is trying his damnedest. It just ain't working, and it's not necessarily his fault. Efficiency-wise, the offense has never looked more efficient, which is crazy to say when they're losing every game. But zero semblance of a run game has been a major issue. James Conner broke his foot early in the season. Trey Benson has been out since week 4 and now is on season-ending IR as the Cardinals didn't activate him during the 21-day window, opening him up from IR. The biggest issue here is the combination of a lack of run game, which is forcing Jacoby Brissett to throw the ball between 45 and 50 times a game, and the offensive line not being great. Paris Johnson Jr., leader in Pro Bowl voting so far for left tackles, will miss this game. I said this a month ago. The Arizona Cardinals could be looking at a 10-sack game for this defensive front for the Houston Texans on Sunday, and I say that without any sort of hyperbole. So the biggest storyline is the Cardinals have no defense against what they're playing against on Sunday.
And it feels like they don't have a defense on the offensive side of the ball to, defend the defense, or the defensive side of the ball to maybe stop a running team, a running offense here in Houston that's looking for a way to get themselves going. Not a great outing against their last opponent. They took on, who did Houston take on to beat? Oh, it was Kansas City. Wasn't a good rushing output, but they were able to find a way to put it together. So that's like one of the key matchups. But I also look at the coach and the battle here between DeMeco Ryans and Jonathan Ganon. Jonathan Ganon was linked to Houston a couple of seasons ago. Houston opted with DeMeco Ryans. It has led to 2 playoff victories, 2 AFC South championships. But now I look at Jonathan Ganon, the defensive coach. However, his EPA per play allowed this year, 25th in the NFL, points per game allowed this year, 26th in the NFL. He's gotten 3 seasons to try to figure this thing out. But defensively, I don't want to say they've gotten worse, but they haven't met the expectation, at least of what their head coach was going to bring to this franchise.
Yeah, so when you look at it, first of all, DeMeco Ryans was my sweet prince that year. I was hoping from afar. I knew it was never going to happen. I knew he was going home. I knew they had to right the ship with what was going on with Bill O'Brien and the aftermath of that. And Lovey, I knew that he was going back to Houston, but I was hoping upon all hope that he would be the rock for this team. Bring in Jonathan Ganon. Okay, the defense through the first 5 weeks, they were giving up 19 points a game. They were 2-3. Not fantastic. Then the run game falls off. Everybody starts getting hurt, including Max Melton, who the Cardinals opted to trade back and draft instead of taking Kamari Lassiter a couple years ago in the second round. He was one of those 3 in the string after Kool-Aid McKinstry and Cooper DeJean, I think. And Max Melton has completely fallen out of favor at this point. Will Johnson, second-round pick this year, looked at one of the steals of the draft. Walter Nolan, they've missed a large chunk of the season combined. Will Johnson's healthy now. But with all the money that the Cardinals put into the defense and 6 out of 7 draft picks in this most recent draft, yes, you would expect them to not be giving up 40 burgers every other week. So it's just another thing where it's like, well, is it because the offense can't get any sustained drives? Or is it because the defense just isn't as good as what we thought it was going to be going into the season?
Maybe a combination of both. And on the side, for Cardinal fans, Houston is one of the hottest teams in the NFL, 5 games in a row, completely dominating the top offenses in the NFL. Indy, KC, Buffalo, 8 sacks against Buffalo, holding Jonathan Taylor under 100 yards. No touchdowns allowed to Patrick Mahomes, including none in the fourth quarter where he's been his best this year. The national media has been showing Houston a lot of love, but locally, your team every day. What would you guys like to know? I mean, from your perspective, about this Houston Texan team that can make this matchup a little bit more difficult, or maybe a way to win this game?
Yeah. So for me, the biggest thing is how good is this defensive front? Because, here's the thing: the offense has been clunky at times.
Yes.
It seems like it's catching its stride. A lot of young guys. Christian Kirk's first year. Nico Collins was hurt. Dalton Schultz had that career year, it seemed, and then he's kind of come back to earth. But the defense seems to just be the entity that will allow everything else to falter, be wishy-washy up and down. And that defense is just so stout that it doesn't really matter what else happens. As long as that defense is there, they'll be able to overcome a lot.
The defense is what it is, man. It's elite. It's the number one defense in the NFL by a lot of numbers, statistics, but also more importantly, we're football guys by the eye test. They're getting after the quarterback. They're shutting down running games. They're creating turnovers. They're giving their offense good field position. Also, they're hitting. This is a team that ain't scared to hit. As a matter of fact, D'Amico Ryans talked about it. If you're not going to hit, if you're not going to be physical, then you can't play for the Texans. And when I look at the Kansas City game, what really stood out the most was just how much more physical the Houston Texans were against that Kansas City team that honestly, after the second quarter, that offense looked a little deflated, especially by the time they got to the fourth quarter because of the physicality of the game. So, yes, this defense is everything national media has been talking about in the last 5 weeks. Local media, especially here in the Locked On Texans, have been talking about in the last 5 weeks, going beyond that all year. The storylines for Houston has been traditionally week in, week out this year, if the offense can give them a little bit more.
Yeah.
And when we say a little bit more, it ain't 10 points. It ain't double digits. It's if you could have scored 3 more points in the third quarter.
Mm-hmm.
If you could have scored 3 more points in the first quarter. If you could have actually scored a touchdown on one of those opening drives and had a better red zone impact on the game. That's all. I'm going to add to that by saying this before we move on, look at the key matchups. I had an opportunity to speak with Azeez Al-Shaair in the locker room a few weeks ago, Texans linebacker, who's played some phenomenal football for Houston, one of the more underrated players on the team and around the league. You know what he told me? D'Amico Ryans had a challenge for us. The challenge was everybody's calling y'all this number one defense. But on 2 occasions this year, the Texans defense has been on the field to close out the game, and the offense has been able to score. Tampa, Denver. And since then, these one-score victories, even when the defense is on the field on the last possession, it's all been dubs for the Houston Texans. So that's the type of defense the Arizona Cardinals are going to have to face. And that's scary because Jacoby Brissett, who's only started in 8 games this year, is tied for 7th in the league in sacks.
Yeah.
It could get very scary very early for the old man.
He's 32, okay? He's not 100, but he is a sitting duck up there who also led the team in rushing last week. Not fantastic.
That's not going to win you no games. And after this game, he may be 32 right now. After this game, after that ice bath kick in, after Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter get after him, I guarantee you that body going to feel 73.
Yeah, you're probably
so
right.
let's dive into the key matchups when we return. Russian offense for Houston, can they get going against a weakening Russian defense? And also just some more in-depth outlook on what's going on with Arizona and the Houston Texans. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. The holiday season is one of the best times for sports, bowl games, big basketball matchups, playoff pushes, and it's all happening at once. And while we're making choices every day, one of the most fun places to make the right call is PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the easiest way to get in on daily fantasy. Just pick more or less on at least 2-player projections, lock in your lineup, and you're in the game. It's simple, fast, and available in 45 states, including California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia. You can choose from a huge range of unique stacks, fantasy score, field goals attempted, free throws made, turnovers, whatever fits your strategy for you to win. And the new stacks feature lets you choose the same player up to 3 times in one lineup, like more on CJ Stroud's passing yards, touchdowns, and rushing yards. Download the Prospect app today and use code Locked On NFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code Locked On NFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 play. PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. Welcome back, Cardinal fans. Welcome back, Texan fans. We're talking football. I'm John Hickman. That's Alex Clancy, Locked On alums. But it ain't been pretty for them Cardinals lately. And the thing that's really stood out to me, teams are just kind of able to run over you guys, man. You guys are allowing 4.5 yards per carry defensively. Was it 140 on the ground this year? It's an extremely high number. And for the Houston Texans, they don't have runners that will just run for 100 themselves. It's been a unit collective where this guy's getting 45, this guy's getting 35, and CJ Stroud has done a good job this year. He's going to add in 30 to get to that overall number. So for you guys, for the Cardinals, has it just been one runner just going crazy, or has it been a run by collective?
It's a little of both. Blake Corum had a large chunk touchdown last week when the game was out of reach, which kind of skewed the numbers a little bit. But the Cardinals went from being a smash mouth, heavy hitting defense through the first month and a half of the season to being the Baltimore Ravens when the Texans put up a 40 burger against them when their defense couldn't stop anybody earlier in the year. It's been a wild paradigm shift. And the crazy part is you'll see flash plays from the stars, and then you'll see just ineptitude between the tackles. I mean, listen, Calais Campbell is 39. He's played well this year. Dalvin Tomlinson hasn't made the impact as a run stuffer that they brought him over to be. I do think a lot of the numbers, especially in the fourth quarter of games, have to do with the offense not being able to give the defense rest. Like, truly, it sounds dumb, but like, these guys are human beings. You're an athlete. You're with these guys all the time. Like, the Cardinals, here's the stat, and this is gonna tell you everything. The Cardinals, 8 of their 11 possessions last week were comprised of 5 plays or less. Okay, which isn't great. One of them was a touchdown drive, but doesn't matter. 5 plays or less. On 5 of those 8, the possession immediately following that resulted in a Rams touchdown. So it's like, if the defense doesn't have a shot to rest, they're going to have no shot, regardless of how much talent's on the side. So yeah, run, throw, it's all kind of fallen off the wayside at this point. And the problem is it looks different every week. So you can't diagnose what the exact problem is, which is a huge problem in and of itself.
For Houston, I think, like I said before, I think this is a perfect opportunity for them to get the ball rolling. Offensively for Houston, Cardinal fans, and y'all not gonna want to hear this. When they are able to run the ball effectively, it's a totally different offense. Coming into this game, I have the numbers against Denver. 77 rushing yards, 2.8 yards per carry. Against Tennessee, the second go around, 75 rushing yards, 3.3 yards per carry. Seattle, 56. The Kansas City Chiefs, 82, 2.6 yards per carry. The common theme in all of those games, Zach Allen on the inside.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Simmons that second go around on the inside. Byron Murphy, Leonard Williams on the inside. Leonard Williams just balls out wherever you line them up. Chris Jones taking over that third quarter. I don't see that happening from a player on the inside from the Cardinals, and that's no disrespect. But when the Texans are able to run the ball at a good average and a good amount, then that opens up the play action game, and that's when CJ Stroud has probably been his dangerous this year. Now, this could be a trap game for Houston, right? And
you think so?
What?
You think it could be a trap game?
Listen, it could be. Every week in the NFL is a trap game.
Yeah.
Right. But what I do worry about is one guy that could completely kind of wreck this game and break it open or keep Arizona in the game. Trey McBride has been great for you guys this year. Also, Wilson has been great for you guys. So the playmakers that the Arizona Cardinals have, I know you mentioned in the first segment, the passing offense is at a high rate, so they're getting those opportunities. What about those two players that Texas fans need to know about? Dortch has also been playing good football for you guys in the return game as well.
Yeah, and unfortunately, he got put on IR recently. That's a recent occurrence. So the problem here is Michael Wilson, third-round pick out of Stanford a couple years ago, hasn't really been given the opportunity to do what he's doing now. So the combination, the infusion of Marvin Harrison Jr. being hurt, Jacoby Brissett throwing the ball down the field more than we ever saw Kyler Murray do over the last couple seasons, and his, dare I say, elite route running ability allows for this. Now, the smoke screen with all the numbers, if you got him in fantasy football, you know he's a league winner at this point. Like, it's just one of those rare occurrences. But this dude is super talented. We just haven't seen, 14 for 175 ever. He didn't do it in college. He didn't do it now. But when there's only two dudes, in Trey McBride, who's all pro, and Michael Wilson, who could be looked at as wide receiver one if Marv doesn't come back for the rest of the year, like, this is a serious situation that I know Derek Stingley, I know Jalen Petrie, I know Kamari Lassiter. It hasn't mattered. The dude's open, and Jacoby Brissett throws him the ball. So, yeah, those are the two. Unfortunately, you got to wait. You got to protect Jacoby Brissett for 3 seconds so the routes can mature down the field. And if you can't do that, you're not going to be able to get on the ball. So it's a chicken or the egg situation. It's like, is it going to be really good and you're going to get protection, or is it going to be really bad because you don't? It's one or the other. But yes, both of those dudes can eat.
How has the offensive coordinator, Drew Petzing, how's he been for you guys this year?
So the difficult part, and I want to ask about your offense as well right after this, like the interesting part about Drew Petzing is it's a run-first offense. It's a Kevin Stefanski tree, okay? And they lost both of their starting running backs. So if you can't run the ball, then you need to pass pro 55 times a game, including sacks and, whatever it is. The best remedy for that is having a good run game so you don't have to pass protect 55 times a game. And they can't run – like when I say they can't run the ball, John, they cannot run the ball beyond the line of scrimmage.
Somebody help my man out, man. That ain't doing too good.
See, what sucks is like the good is really good, okay? The good is outstanding, but it's marred by all this stuff that's not at this point, and that's the convolution of the 40 burgers that are putting up, 3 out of the last 5 weeks they're giving up. It's been a far cry from earlier in the season. But like with the Texans, so talk to me about this. So for me, obviously, it's Will Anderson and it's Danielle Hunter. It's Alshire, like the guys you were mentioning on top of the DBs. I really would have liked Paris Johnson Jr. to play in this game so we could, see that trade from a couple years ago. I think both teams won. And Paris Johnson Jr. is going to be all pro forever. Like, I think he's going to be great, and Will Johnson is, already there. Talk to me about how you can stop these guys. Like, if you can say you can't, like, of the weaknesses that could be there for these guys, outside of bringing 6 offensive linemen every play and just running jumbo and just running the ball up the gut, like, how can you stop these guys?
Well, stop is a I don't know about the word stop, but when I look at how Buffalo lost that game, obviously 8 sacks. There was not a lot of double teaming going on, especially on Will Anderson Jr., who is so relentless. You kind of need a guy to block him, but you also need a guy to kind of stop his momentum as he's continuing to get going as the play is going. A couple of sacks that he got on Josh Allen was just him getting up and running around and going to find him. Yeah. So if I was to give any inside look on how to stop either of those guys, chip blocking it will help. They are chip block at an extremely high rate. I had the number in front of me somewhere, but I lost it. Double teaming is always going to help. With Will Anderson, you can't run at him, right? The whole talk about Michael Parsons and what his value to the league, right? You run at him, you can kind of neutralize him. However you feel about Michael Parsons, you can't do that with Will Anderson because he knows how to defend the run. And coming into the league, I thought he was a better run defender than pass rusher. With Danielle Hunter, you can't necessarily run at him as well. I just think age right now kind of doesn't allow for him to attack the run as much as he would in Minnesota, maybe last year, but he's still a good run defender. The only help is you got to bring in a guy to chip him. You got to bring in a guy to double team him, And what I love about the D-line is they're going to command that attention. And so to put it back to you guys, when I look at the offensive line, the D tackles for Houston have done such an amazing job. They just lost Tim Settle Jr. to an season in the injury. He was playing great football for Houston. Tommy Togiai playing good football. The D tackle unit has been so underrated because there's not a lot of household names. However, when the running backs have to get shifted back inside or the quarterback is having to step up, the D tackles have been there to make a play. And that's why that D line is so ferocious and hard to block. Everybody is where they need to be at the right time to make a play.
Yeah, and getting super inside baseball, you're like, Demergy Mercado is the best pass blocking running back the Cardinals have. He's been out. Tip Ryman, who is a kind of a much maligned third round pick out of Illinois from a couple years ago, has been he went viral for a preseason block on a defensive end where he just threw him into the ground like he was a rag doll. He's been out because he had a compound fracture during the first 6 weeks of the season. So that would have been the dude that would be able to do that, be the utility guy. And Trey McBride's got to run routes. He's the next best pass blocker, but he's got to run routes. For me, and I know we got to pivot to keys to victory and everything. From afar, for me, if I'm Houston, I'm calling D'Amico being like, bring the DBs as much as you can. Like, because as you mentioned, you're not going to be able to block everybody. You can get free runners from the secondary on this team, especially with the offensive line being down both of their tackles and their guards being not great. But the thing for me is with Will Anderson, what I've been watching from afar, and correct me if I'm wrong, the sexy part about a good pass rusher is the bend, right? Whether it's a DE or a guy standing up, a guy that can just bend under a tackle. Other guys know the angle so well that they don't have to. And you take more of a arc approach and you're just running around a tackle, like you mentioned, on the 2 sacks against Josh Allen. Is that more what he's like, or does he do a little bit of both?
In 2025, he's doing it all. I'm not lying. When he came out of the draft, I said he has to get a little bit more bendier with his hips. Year 3, he's gotten that way. He's also understanding how to attack certain tackles differently in terms of the angle. Then he also understands certain times he may just needs to bull rush to get through and punch somebody in the doggone face.
That's not fair.
He's doing it all this year. He is doing it all this year. He's improved in areas of his game that he needed to, and he's also just elevated certain areas in his game that he was already great at. This has been one of those seasons where we look back and we may ask who is the catalyst of the defense. Obviously, this is the number 1 defense, so you can point your finger everywhere. But Will Anderson's ability to stop the run and have different ways to get after the quarterback,
sweet.
It's
super sweet.
It's crazy. We got game predictions next. Also, hot seat for Jonathan Ganon. I wanted to get your take on that. So more Locked On Cards, more Locked On Texans on the way. Car shopping should feel exciting, like Texan fans should feel on Sunday, not confusing like Cardinal fans will probably feel on Sunday. And with Car Gurus, you get the confidence you deserve. They cut through all the noise so you can actually see the best deals on the car you want. Because when it comes to a big purchase, you deserve the best deals. And Car Gurus make the whole process simple by giving you real information, real deal ratings, and more listings than anyone else so you can shop the way you want to shop. You'll be able to filter everything, mileage, trim, features, so you're only seeing cars you actually want and actually fit what you need. The in-depth vehicle reviews help you understand what ownership actually looks like, not just how the car looks online. Car Gurus connects you with trusted dealerships for a transparent and hassle-free buying process with over 4 million listings. The most of any major online automotive marketplace, you'll always find the best deal possible. So shop the way you want with the tools, data, and unbiased deal ratings that make it easy. Buy or sell your next car today at cargurus.com. That's CarGurus, CarGurus.com, CarGurus.com. And also, Texans and Cars fans, Guys, it's 2025, almost 2026, and those days of waiting for something to become a full-blown emergency before you see your doctor, they're over. No more walking it off for 6 months. No more pretending that weird shoulder stiffness is just sleeping wrong. Boy, do I know how that feels. It's time to take your health seriously, and Zadok makes that easier than ever, because staying healthy is more than hitting the gym or eating right. It's actually about getting things checked out when something feels off. Using Zadok makes scheduling easier. Search for in-network doctors and book appointments right in the app. Lets you compare providers using real patient reviews, not just ads. So stop putting off your doctor's appointments and get the care you need. Go to Zadok.com/LockedOnNFL to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That is ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL. Closing out today, we're looking at the game predictions. Before we do that, hot seat for Jonathan Ganon. Alex, is it hot? Is it warm? How's that seat right now?
I mean, I think it's toasty at most. But let me ask you this. Let me throw it back on you. So, first season was a throwaway because Kyler Murray was out for half the year. The roster was turned over almost 50% from the last regime. So that's the green ribbon. You guys did a good job resetting things year. Last year, they led the division going to their bye week, fell off a cliff. This season, they've lost every one-score game outside of weeks 1 and 2. They've lost every single one. I think it's 8 of them at this point. 7. But James Conner, Trey Benson, Mara for a good chunk, right tackle, right guard for a long time. Garrett Williams was on IR, their best corner. Will Johnson was out. Max Melton's been out. Walter Nolan's missed all but 2 games. Dadrian Taylor-Demerson and other safeties been out. Like 40% of their impact guys at any point in the season have been hurt. So when you look at a year like this with 1 year left on his deal, with 2 easy scapegoats in the coordinators and Kyler Murray gone, do you fire him just because it's the thing to do? Or do you look and say, everybody's been hurt the entirety of the season outside of Trey McBride and Michael Wilson? Do you run it back 1 more year? And the lame duck thing, which I don't think is a bad thing, play your contract out. You don't need an extension. Just coach on the last year and see what happens. I would do that, but I understand both. Both sides are rational. What do you think?
I don't think he's had a real quarterback to work with. I think once Kyler wasn't able to get it done with what's my guy, Cliff Kingsbury, I thought that was probably a perfect marriage in terms of how offense, the schematics of it. Mm-hmm. Once that didn't happen, I kind of viewed Kyler Murray a little different. Someone as an eventual bridge quarterback, and I think that's where he is right now. And also the injury. So I think it's unfair to fire Jonathan Gannon. But I've seen a lot of comments from different Cards fans wanting to move on. A lot of times fans wants to fire coaches because it'll give them something exciting to talk about. But I don't think he's the guy that needs to be fired right now. I just think the team needs to move on from Kyler Murray. Guys got to get healthy.
Yeah. So we'll get to, keys in just a second. Like, this is really important delineation with dysfunctional organizations, quote unquote. Like, say with the Texans, when Caserio first came over, things weren't great. With Billy O, there were some weird things. The DeAndre Hopkins trade, it was dysfunctional and they were losing. Okay. With this, it's been dysfunctional forever with Michael Bidwell. Okay. The owner is just not great at what he does. He's a penny pincher. He's not great at what he does. Now, the only dysfunction is between the lines. Everything else is stable. They love Jonathan Gannon. This is a good culture. Calais Campbell chose there to come home instead of going to any Super Bowl contender he wanted to because he sees a change. So that was the biggest offseason acquisition. Josh Sweat came here. Could have gone anywhere else, probably for more money. You know what I mean? Like, everything is good outside of them losing games, but everything is good, kumbaya, doesn't get you contract extensions. So that's the tough balance for me. It's like, this is the most stable this organization has been, which is weird because all they do is lose right now. So that's the internal battle I've had with myself. I think they should 100% run it back with them 1 more year, and then you move off from at the end of the year if it doesn't work.
I'm going to put you on the prayer list at church, Alex. I'm going to do that for you. I know it's been a rough couple of seasons for you. We got game predictions, man. A win for Houston, a loss for Arizona. I don't want to get into the semantics of it. I do see this being a moment for Houston's offense to catch a rhythm for 4 quarters. Not a drive, not a quarter, but for 4 quarters, my expectation is for them to run the ball well and be able to score points. That being said, I can see this game ending around 26-13 for Houston, and this will be their first 2-score victory since, I think, Baltimore.
Jeez, really? Yikes.
Yeah.
I didn't
A lot of
realize
1-score victories in Houston. During a 5-game win streak, the only 2-score victory was Kansas City. They beat them by 10. So everything else, the defense has been on the field to end off the game because the offense has been able to score points. That's been a theme. That's how great this defense is.
Yeah. See, that's going to be the big thing for me to watch is how many points are the Cardinals going to give up, or can they get CJ Stroud out of his kitchen, getting him on the run, and see if he can make a mistake or two. Woody Marks hasn't been good, right? Like for what you thought he was going to be after that first breakout game where he had a long touchdown catch and run or a long touchdown run. It's like, all right, it's time, everybody. We finally got our dude that's not going to be Nick Chubb and not going to be Joe Mixon. And he hasn't been super efficient, right? So if the Cardinals can't stop that, it's been Kyron, it's been Blake Corum, it's been the guys in Seattle, it's been McCaffrey. So Travis Etienne ate him alive, but Woody Marks is still a rookie and first year in the league. Like, if the Cardinals give up 150 burger on the ground for whoever it is, that is going to be a huge indictment on how far this defensive run. And that's not a knock on any of the guys, but you even said yourself, the efficiency hasn't been there.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, so it's both of the defenses. And if the Cardinals put 3 points up against his defense, like, well, yeah, it makes sense.
That's the game. Do you want to throw a score out, or you're just looking at?
I think the total points will be under 40. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I think the total points will be under 40, which very well could be 30-10, 30-9.
Yeah,
something
like I did just say 26-13. That's 39 right there.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
I just don't think it's not going to be a boat race team one way or the other. I mean, the Cardinals, yeah, I just don't. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be close.
Last message to Cardinal fans or maybe Texan fans before we go.
Appreciate football because it's going to be gone before you know it.
That's the best way to do it. Thank y'all for watching today's episode of the Locked On Texans and the Locked On Cardinals podcast. 2 of the Locked On alums, thank you guys for making the Locked On Texan podcast the #1 sports podcast in the nation. We really appreciate it. Until next time, Cardinal fans, Texas fans across the nation, peace.